Video is a topic that a lot of entrepreneurs and small businesses, including myself, struggle with. And whether it's getting comfortable and feeling yourself in front of the camera, or picking great, interesting topics that people want to learn about, or saving time in editing and preventing this from becoming a week-long project to make one video, there's a lot of unique challenges that come along with video marketing. So to answer and kind of address some of those challenges, I'm doing something a little bit different this week, and I'm interviewing video expert Dana Rivera of Dana Rivera Films. And if you would like to get more into video marketing, if you want to help more people and connect with your audience more deeply, this is a video that you're going to love.
This is a community for people who want to build a thriving business while still being conscious change makers.
Before Dana started working with online women entrepreneurs crafting their video visions, she was a documentary filmmaker, creating online short films for nonprofits and corporations. She was on the front lines of crafting strategies for how video aligned with their core messages and principles, filming and editing content to create meaningful finished videos, and finally implementing plans for getting them in front of the right people. Nowadays, Dana's a video editor and a video vision mentor. In addition to being a Disney and Pixar freak, child of the 90s, vintage camera collector, and world traveler. Dana believes that every person's story matters. No matter how seemingly small or big, they all have an impact that deserves to be recorded. All right, so I am here with Dana Rivera of Dana Rivera Films. And Dana and I actually connected in a Facebook group. I had asked a question about video equipment to create Skype interviews like this one right here. And Dana just jumped in and offered great suggestions and a lot of support to help me get set up. And it was just a really great value-packed interaction from the get-go. So she was someone that I knew that you guys would love and love her energy and how she approaches video, and she's going to give us some great tips for how we can start using video in our marketing. So Dana, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I'm really excited to speak to you. And let's start. Just tell me a little bit about what it was about video, what made you choose to pursue a career in video.
Great. Thank you so much for having me, Whitney. I'm super excited to be here and talk to everybody. Video has been a huge part of my life since I was a kid, actually. I'm one of those cliches, like I always knew that I wanted to do video. But it started off actually as wanting to make like Hollywood films. I was a big Turner Classic Movies fan. Me and my mom would watch it like every day. And I was also really big into animation. So I went to film school, and that's where I went really big into fiction filmmaking, and I was kind of pushed into a documentary filmmaking class, and I was like, I'm not gonna like that. I don't know why I'm even doing it. But I ended up falling in love with documentary. And there's something so special about capturing really small moments, because people don't realize going from day to day how special these little moments in your life are and how special your story is. So I really love how video captures that and how it can bring attention to something that seems simple to you and I because it's our own lives. So that's kind of how I got started in video and how I kind of went into that documentary route. And from there, it just unfolded, and I started working with women entrepreneurs because they have such strong messages to tell and to get out there. And many of them, like our communities, they're very purpose-driven, and they want to make genuine connections, and video is a great way to do that because people can see you, they can hear you speak, and they can really connect with your energy. So that's the basic gist of how I got into video.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love what you said about capturing small moments. And I feel like that's something that outside of business, inside of business, that we all need to do more of.
So it was just, I think that was a really beautiful way to say it, and really cool. And I think if you're watching this, you already know why I like her so much, just from that little blurb about connecting with people and sharing parts of yourself. So that's awesome. With your background in documentary filmmaking, I'm sure you had a lot of people, because they're not Hollywood stars, that aren't used to being on camera when they sit down for an interview. And I'm sure that's, that's something I deal with. That's something I'm sure a lot of people deal with, is just feeling like not yourself once the camera goes on. So what, do you have any advice for how to feel more comfortable and how to feel more at ease when you're making videos?
Absolutely. So I am one of those really shy, introverted people, and that's the reason why I said I'm going to be behind the camera. So, because that's where I was comfortable, and I didn't have to be in front. I didn't have to look at a camera lens or and have all these bright lights on me, and I was comfortable there. But when I started my own business, I decided that I needed to walk my talk and get in front of the camera. Yeah. So it was a lot of inner work for me as well. And I'm not a huge expert on like getting comfortable in your skin and being confident on camera, but I can tell you what I did to kind of get myself out there. And for me, there were a few big stresses. And the first one was having to talk to the camera and being by myself and not having like a person that I could look at and speak to. Mm-hmm. So what I decided to do was just get really comfortable with my setup, and that way it would seem less intimidating. So I spent a lot of time with my camera, a lot of time with my lighting and with my sound. So, because like anything, when you first start, you're so worried in your head about how intimidating it is, but as you keep practicing, keep doing it, eventually you're like, oh, this is normal. This is fine. So that was the first thing I did, was making sure that I wasn't worried about my camera settings so that I could think about what I was saying instead of my setup and my equipment. Mm-hmm. And another thing I did, this might sound kind of funny, but I took a picture of a close friend or someone that I wanted to talk to, and I put it next to the camera. So then I kind of acted like I was talking to that person.
Yeah.
Talking to the camera. Mm-hmm. So it made it a little less weird for me. Yeah. And it still helps me be conversational. And that's another way to appear authentic and genuine. So I just, instead of seeing the camera, I just picture a person.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because that's one of the things that I always tell people when they're writing or creating content for social media, or they're writing for their website or for their blog or for an email, is to think of just one person. Like, instead of thinking that you're talking to like the internet or this, group of faceless people, just pretend like you're talking to a friend. So it's funny that that's a great idea, to just use a photo of a friend or of a loved one. That kind of just takes it to the next level to help you visualize that. So that's really cool. I love that.
It was so helpful.
Yeah. Are there any any sort of mindset shifts that you use when you're like setting out to create video, just again to make you feel a little more comfortable or a little more at ease?
Absolutely. So going kind of along with that, talking to a friend trick, I create video, and I always tell people in my community to create video from a space of being in service. So we all have businesses because we have our missions. So for me, it's that I want to help women entrepreneurs get their messages out there and make an impact on who they were meant to serve. So shifting your mindset from video marketing, which is, for me, it feels kind of like icky and like not right. Yeah. And when I first started out, I was like, I'm a video marketer. And then I saw those cliches, like, you need to put all this into your SEO, and you need to make sure you have this funnel. And it's important, but it just didn't feel right to me. Mm-hmm. So instead, I started to say to myself, okay, if I'm going to make videos, what do the people that I'm serving need to know, or what do they want to see? So every video that I make, I don't just make it just to make it. I ask myself the same question over and over again. How is this video being of service to my clients? Mm-hmm. So when you think about it that way, it's a little less stressful to think about the equipment and your setup and the whole process, because if you think about documentaries, some of them do not look like professional Hollywood movies. They're very much on the fly. Some of them, they'll just use their iPhones. And what's important about them is the message and the cause that they're talking about. So I take that mindset of, okay, if I have this really strong message, the rest of it doesn't matter so much. So if you think about that when you're creating videos, and you think about that one person, like you were saying, that you're talking to, it's much easier to kind of get yourself out there.
Yeah, I love the idea of coming from a place of service and just thinking, what if I make this video, I'm going to help somebody who's having this problem, or I'm going to answer a question that's been nagging at them for a while. I think that's a lot, for me personally, that's a lot more motivating to be like, all right, I'm just going to do it and I'm going to put it out there. So I like that a lot. I think that's a really good thing to keep in the back of your mind if you're feeling uncomfortable, just to remember, why you're doing it and that you're coming from a place of service. So I like that a lot. But with talking about production value and even if you're using your smartphone, which smartphones are great these days, I find anyway, that they do pretty well for recording video. But do you have any tips or anything that, even if you don't have great equipment, but you want your videos just to look a little nicer, like spiff them up a little bit, do you have any tips or any great tools that you'd recommend?
Yeah, absolutely. So 2 of the biggest things with video is sound and lighting. So you could have great looking video, like it looks like you had a huge film crew and everything, but if your sound is awful, people are going to turn it off. Where you could have bad looking video, but if your sound is great, they still might listen to you. Let's say they're doing something in the background, they're still going to listen to you.
Yeah.
So sound is huge. And what I recommend to people is using a lavalier microphone. I actually have one here, so I can show you. It's this little thing.
Okay.
And you clip it onto your shirt. And what's great about it is that in any given room, you have what's called room noise. So every space creates some kind of noise, because lights create noise. If you have an air conditioner on, it creates noise. But this microphone will get your voice, and it kind of eliminate all that other stuff. So you'll get really great sound.
Cool.
And there are ones that you can plug right into your smartphone. And you can get them right on Amazon. They're like $60.
Okay.
So not too
bad. Yeah.
And the other thing would be lighting. So if you want to do natural lighting, which I actually recommend before even going out to buy kits, because you get that soft, beautiful glow on your face. And all you can do is set up your setup in front of a window. So if you face the window, sometimes it's hard, like me, in my space, I can't really go in front of the window, so I have a light. But try and use as much natural light as possible. So if you're doing like an interview like we're doing right now, put your laptop in front of you and face the window. You don't want your back to be to a window, because then your background's going to be brighter than your face. And that looks kind of off. So those are the 2 big things that I would focus on at first. And then as you start to create more videos and you want to really amp it up, then you can go into like graphics and all those other like bigger tasks.
Okay. Awesome. I think those are really good tips. The one about the sound was really interesting, because I never thought of it like that, but it's true. Like if there's not great video, you could still listen to it. But if there's like buzzing or it's hard to hear, you're right, you would just shut it off automatically. So that microphone, if you have a suggestion, I can actually link to it below, like on my website, where we'll show the post. So I'll get that at the end. But I think that's a really great tip. That could be really, really helpful.
Yeah, definitely. I'll get you that link.
Awesome. So, all right. So when you're sitting down, you sit down and you're going to start writing your script for a video. Taking it back a step, I know it's hard sometimes to think of topics And I know for a lot of people, it feels like everything's already been said. Like everyone has already made a video about what I want to talk about. I don't have anything that I can share with anybody else. Like just people that are feeling like the video equivalent of writer's block, of not knowing what they want to talk about. What are some ways that you help people to find great, interesting topics to talk about in their videos?
Yeah, so I went through that same thing when I started creating my video blog. I saw people like James Wedmore who have like 50 million videos about everything you could possibly imagine about production. And I was like, why should I even create videos if he has everything? But then I realized we're speaking to two different communities. So the way that he teaches video editing is going to be very different from the way that I teach it. Because we're coming from two different lenses. So I always encourage people to not let that get them in their way, because everybody is different. Everybody teaches differently. The way you speak to people is different. So you could be doing the same topic and you're going to bring something that's totally different to the stage than that other person would.
Okay.
When it comes to brainstorming ideas, I encourage people not to look at other people's videos while they're brainstorming. And I know it's really easy to say, oh, I'll check out this YouTube channel and see what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But that kind of stops you from thinking of your own distinct ideas. So that's one thing, is to not look at other people's stuff. And I do this thing called sleuthing.
Okay.
Yes. So I didn't come
cool.
up with this, but Eleanor Strong, I don't know if you've heard of her, she has a Facebook group that's called Business Sleuthing something with business sleuthing.
Okay.
And she came up with this way to kind of survey your community without actually surveying them. So what she does is she has her, you know how Facebook sends you notification emails?
Mm-hmm.
You can put a filter in Gmail that says, okay, all of these notifications for all of my Facebook groups are going to go into this folder. And I'll check it once a day, and I'll search video. I'll bring up all the posts where somebody asks a question about video, and then I'll save it to my Evernote there's an extension called the Evernote Web Clipper. So you can save Facebook posts, and it saves the links and everything. And then those are your topics right there. So any questions that you find in these groups, you can just save them and say, okay, I'll address this question later in a video. Yeah.
I've never heard of that before. That is genius.
Yeah, I know. When I first heard about it, I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
Everybody needs to know about this. This is amazing.
Yeah, that's because you always think, you hear the advice like send a survey to your audience, or, run this poll, or ask people to email you their questions. And you might get a little bit of response, but you're not always guaranteed that people are going to be open with what they don't know or what questions they have. That's genius. Just kind of, you're just observing the questions that people are asking, and then you're giving an easy way for them to get answered through your videos.
Yeah. And a lot of time people don't know what they want.
Yeah.
So asking, well, what do you want to learn about? They'll say, I don't know.
Yeah.
So this is a much easier way to get those topics. I've been using that a lot lately.
Genius.
And it's also time efficient. So you're not just like spending hours on Facebook trying to find questions. You just look through this one email folder.
Yeah.
And everything's right there.
Talking about saving time and kind of little ways that you can save time. For me, I know video seems to just like balloon out and take a ton of time, like hours between writing and filming and editing. So do you have any tips or any suggestions for ways that we can make that not take up so much time and to go a little bit quicker, to, just encourage us to get going? Because I know the time commitment is something that holds a lot of people back from pursuing it.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm all about organization and being efficient. So this is kind of a perfect question for me, because I'm very much about like, how can I save time here and get things done?
Yeah.
So what I do actually is I batch my videos into 3 months. So I'll write, film, and edit 3 months worth of videos, and in 3 days.
3 months?
3 months and 3 days.
Wow.
But
okay.
the way that I do that is that I have a system that I write everything out. So my entire video production process is all in checklists, so that I don't have to think, oh, did I forget this? Or did I forget this graphic? Did I do this?
Yeah.
It's all checklists.
Okay.
So, and it's also much easier for me to do that because it's a proven psychological thing where switching from topic to topic takes you time. So if you're saying, okay, I'm going to spend an hour doing video here, an hour there, it's going to take you longer to actually produce things. Okay. So I'll sit down for a day and I'll write my scripts. That's all I do. I'll just be completely focused. And I release 2 videos a month. So that's 6 videos. I'll write those scripts in one day. And I use a Pomodoro timer. Have you used that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
So that is magic.
Yeah. So if you don't know what a Pomodoro timer is, just check out the Pomodoro technique. Just Google it, but it's just a productivity technique where you basically work for, is it 25 minutes. 25 minutes and then a 5-minute break. And I use that on days when I have so much to get done, because you work like crazy for those 25 minutes. So yeah, sorry to interrupt you, but just in case somebody hadn't heard it.
I explained it.
Yeah.
So that's what I use when I write.
Okay.
And again, I have my templates, so it seems easier when you have a template because you're like, okay, the intro sentence, I just have to change what the topic is about.
Yeah.
And then I'll just break down step by step how to do this one thing. And they're 1-page scripts, so once you get into the rhythm of it, you start to do it faster. So those are kind of like the practical things that I do to prepare. And then I have my editing tips, which I've been sharing and people seem to really love. And the first one is the snap and clap method. And I didn't come up with this, but it's a great tool. And I know it's also used in professional productions. And basically what it is when you're filming and you have a bad take, instead of stopping your camera and getting up and then having to sit back down, what you do is you snap 3 times. And if you have a good take, you clap 5 times. And that makes editing quicker, because once you bring your video into editing, you'll notice that your audio is represented by what's called a waveform. So it's just those lines that go up and down. And you'll see in the waveform where you snapped 3 times. There'll be 3 lines. And you'll say, okay, there's my snap. The take before that was bad. So you don't have to go through and watch all your footage. You can just say, there's the good take, there's the bad take, and then editing will be so easy.
I love, you shared that in a group that we were in before, and I just love that tip, because that is, it's so hard when you have one long stream of video and you have to like go through and watch the whole thing. And I usually write down like, all right, 2 minutes, 30 seconds, like take this out, or 5 minutes, 12 seconds. This is a good take. It would be so much easier to just see that spike and then to be able to tell, what needs to be cut and what's going to work. So I love that tip. I think that's really, really helpful.
Yeah.
Like, I just love how you're kind of making this seem so much more doable. Like, as we keep talking, it just feels like, okay, like this is something that a lot of people could do. And this is, just kind of breaking it down. So for people who are, have watched this and are starting to feel like, okay, I can do this. Like, I can actually pursue video. What's something, because I think it's so important to take action and to start moving forward instead of just thinking like, oh yeah, I'm going to start doing this. What's something that people could do today? It could be a teeny tiny little step forward, but what's something that people could now kind of take this, they're feeling like jazzed up. What could they do to move forward in kind of developing their video strategy?
Yeah, so what I always tell people to do first and foremost, before you take out your camera, before you take out your lights or anything, is to decide on why you're creating video. So for me, I wanted to give tons of free value to my community and show them that I can do what I'm telling them to do. And then by them seeing me on video, they get to know me, they start to like me and trust me, and then maybe they'll sign up for my email list or they'll join my Facebook group. And there we can get to know each other even more, and maybe they'll decide to invest in working with me on a one-to-one basis or in a program. So knowing that whenever I get frustrated and say like, oh my God, I have to film another video, I'll think, okay, no, this is why I'm doing it. This is my motivation. And then I'm all of a sudden back in that mindset and I just keep going. So I always tell people, I know it sounds small and it might sound like, oh, I just want to go and do it, but knowing why you're doing it is really going to keep you motivated, and it's really going to keep you on task.
I hope everybody watching, like, I hope that you love Dana as much as I do. I just think you gave us such awesome tips, and I know this is just the tip of the iceberg. Like, she's got lots of videos and she's building a great Facebook community. So Dana, just tell everybody a little bit more about how they can connect with you if they want to check out your videos or get involved in your community.
Yeah, absolutely. So the best place to connect with me is in my Facebook community. It's called the Storyteller Circle. And I can get you that link, Whitney, if you want to post it.
Awesome.
But there is where everybody can talk about their not failures, but their challenges. We give each other positive feedback, and I'm starting to incorporate different days of the week for different things. So on Fridays, we'll celebrate that everybody can be a video maker. I'm going to start these live storyteller hangouts coming up, and I just pulled the group on what they wanted me to talk about, and that's going to be very interactive, and I'm hoping to take people's questions. So that's the best place to reach me, and it's completely free. And you can also get access to my YouTube channel. I have all the links right in the group.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
All right, so the Storyteller Circle, I'll have the link below so you guys can check that out. It's an awesome community. Dana does a really good job of just, she's just so helpful and so knowledgeable and so happy to help you on your video journey. So I'll link it up, but if you like the video, you'll definitely want to get involved there. But yeah, just thank you again so much, Dana. I'm really glad that you were able to come and talk to us, and this was just so helpful for me. Like, I learned so much just listening to you, and I know everybody else did too. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.